Good afternoon, Chair Frederick and Co-Chair Frederick and Co-Chair Witt and members of the committee. My name is Dayna Jones. I've been working at Opal Environmental Justice Oregon around issues of air quality for the last year, but today I'm actually here on a much more unexpectedly personal note. So thank you for providing space to testify in support of this bill. Yesterday I was at a coffee shop, excuse me, working on preparing my written testimony on behalf of Opal when I received a text from my partner to come home immediately, telling me that our 2-year-old son, who has pneumonia, was not breathing well. I rushed home and looked at my son for a whole 5 seconds before scooping him up and hurrying to the ER. It turns out my son does not have pneumonia. He was misdiagnosed, but instead my 2-year-old has reactive airway disease. This disease is very similar to asthma that affects children under 6. My son was born with such strong lungs that he was a rare baby in the high altitude of Colorado who did not receive oxygen upon being born. He had to have 7 breathing treatments and a steroid just to breathe yesterday. Thank you. As I was pinning him down for his last one, his little body flailing, trying to get out of the mask, I thought to myself, would this have even happened if I did not move to Oregon to go to law school? I've been working in air advocacy for the last year and very involved in the Cleaner Air Oregon process and the diesel bill. And I am dumbfounded that advocating for clean air feels like such an uphill battle with so many of our lawmakers. We cannot choose whether or not we breathe air, and the folks living in this state are literally being poisoned by the air we breathe. Yes, in some areas worse than others. But all the numbers you read, Portland, Oregon is the #1 in the nation for respiratory distress, according to the latest National Air Toxics Assessment, or the EPA states that we have an additional 460 deaths as a result of diesel emissions a year. Levels of cadmium and arsenic in southeast Portland high enough to raise the cancer risk from 1 case in 1 million to 1 in 10,000. These are not just numbers. These are people with faces and lives, and you have a chance to protect them today by passing HB 2669. The people who are being most affected by loopholes in regulation are people of color and low income, in addition to sensitive populations like children and the elderly. I realize that many folks in industry do not want to pay for their pollution. I also realize that many folks in industry take a position that focuses on the positive steps that they have already taken to reduce pollution rather than accepting responsibility for the pollution that they are still emitting. But please realize that someone is always paying for the pollution. The question today is, who will that person be? The polluter or the people who are being poisoned by the pollution? An asthma visit to the hospital comes with an average cost of $5,911. That's the average. The costs can range from $400 to $28,000, depending on the length of the stay. The economic impact of asthma in the United States as a whole is estimated to be $5.8 billion. Asthma and respiratory illness and excess cancers are not confined to Portland, although Portland does have some of the worst air in the entire country. Rural communities, which are often communities of low income or color, are paying with their health, finances, and environment as well. Statewide, the prevalence of asthma is twice as high for economically disadvantaged adults, according to the Oregon Health Authority. This means that the folks who have the least financial means are paying not only with their health and their children's health, but also with their pocketbooks for industry's pollution, which is completely backwards and unacceptable. We know that clean air regulation works, and we know that it is also economically beneficial because we can look to the success of the Clean Air Act and the air regulatory mechanisms California has enacted for reference. The central estimate of monetized benefits from the Clean Air Act between 1970 and 1990 totaled $22 trillion, and the costs to comply were 0.5 trillion. As we sit before you today advocating for clean air for our communities, it is evident that industry does not have to shut down as the result of air regulation. Industry can coexist with regulation, and we can receive the financial benefit of a good partnership between the two. The legislators who enacted the Clean Air Act didn't just see that $22 trillion benefit and stop in 1990. They recognized that there was a continued need, and they enacted the 1990 amendments to the Clean Air Act. As a result, an estimated 280 infant deaths are avoided each year. Our Oregon lawmakers need to do the same thing today. We need you to recognize the need, the continued need that is there for breathable air in this state. The Clean Air Oregon process has been diligently tended to by the DEQ staff and the OHA, and I've been thankful to be a part of it. There are still elements, such as including background exposures like diesel, that need to be addressed, but it is nonetheless an absolutely essential step in the right direction. Please provide us with your support for this bill by passing it through today and showing us that our families' health and financial security is a priority for our lawmakers.
Can you hold on just a second? We have a number of people who want to speak as well.
Thank you.
If you're done, yes, Representative.
Thank you, Chair Farber. I just wanted to thank her for coming and sharing your testimony. That was it's very difficult to come down after all of that, and I'm sorry that you went through that. And I hope that your child is okay. And
thank you.
And I'm really glad you brought up the diesel subject as well. Another bill that we're grappling with, and very important that we pass that bill as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Sorry that took me so long.